This is 16 to 1, a podcast about education, teaching, and learning.
Hello.
Hi.
It's the last week of summer.
It sure is. Getting
It's
ready.
the worst week of summer.
Oh, that back to school mood.
Yeah, it's like...
Big mood.
Yeah, it's a big mood. I'm not filled with the complete dread that I was last... It's a different dread,
Oh, different.
but
dread.
it's like...
It's a more mature dread.
It is. But I'm like, in my head, I'm doing the math on like when I need my booster vaccine, you know?
Yeah.
Because they
yeah.
just announced that yesterday.
8 months, yeah. Puts
So
us in,
I'm like...
That's like October for you, right? Or
Yeah,
something like that.
October. Because I think it was from the second one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I got it in March. Oh, I guess that would be November then.
Oh,
No.
no. October.
Okay. Math is hard. March 12th is when I
Mine
got.
would be in November, and I got mine on April 1st.
So wait, April?
I
May,
can't do
June,
math.
July, October.
I'm going to be wrong if I
just
say it.
just totally skipped August. I'm just forgetting
Oh, you
it.
just forgot a month? Cool. You forgot the one that we're in?
April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Wait.
Yeah, November.
Oh, you said yours was November.
It is November. I don't know.
It can't be November.
Are you counting the month
Yours
of...
is December. Like I'm saying.
I have to count the whole month of April, though, because I got it on April 1st.
Yeah,
that's
so
a
it
month.
would just be
April,
plus 8, which is December 1st.
August, September, October, November.
The end of November.
Oh, yeah,
which
you're
would be
right.
December
You're right.
1st.
Okay.
Do not make me.
I have to count the
Do not make me do numbers.
Okay, so we're doing numbers and doing it
So,
badly. We're
I
English
have
people, you
until
can tell.
November 12th.
Okay.
That's when I need to get mine.
Okay.
Anyways, we're gonna cut all that.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. No, we're not. We're good. We got to keep
Okay,
it.
great.
We got to keep how bad I am at math. Okay. It's funny because I'm not
I
bad
think
at
we're
math.
both right, but we're both wrong. Is
I'm-
that possible?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not bad at math per se. I'm bad at like
Those things.
counting months and like dates. I'm terrible with dates.
Yeah.
I think I have date blindness.
Yeah.
Or something. Truly.
Date blindness.
Yeah, I just invented a whole psychological condition that you didn't know.
that kind of math. Well, yeah. Okay, I'll agree. Yes. I'm just
You'll
thinking
agree
of,
that I'm bad at
I'm
it?
thinking of all the no. I'm
I
thinking of
agree.
all the math that I'm bad at,
Oh,
and it is a lot of it.
differential calculus. Not your jam.
That would be on my list. Didn't even know that was a thing, but that's definitely on the bad list.
the bad.
Things I'm good at. Counting money. I have so little, it's very easy.
You're generally better at dates than I am, for sure, though.
What does that mean?
Well, I just like when someone's like, "Oh, this happened," whatever. So you're like, "Oh, so they're this many years old." Like I can't do that quickly in my head for some reason.
So my brand of math is not useful in most ways. Like I'm very good at quick math. Like even my principal was impressed by how quickly I can do some of these things.
Oh, good on you.
And he just stared at me, and I was like, "It's surprising. Trust me. Even I'm shocked."
A
but
woman
this
working with
checks out.
numbers.
No. It wasn't that at all. It was mostly just the fact that it's like random math that I can do very quickly that most people can't. And for some reason, I can see it in my head.
Good.
But then the rest, I mean, I had to repeat algebra 1 twice. So like, I'm not doing that great, but here we are. I teach English. So that helps.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of numbers there. It's like, you know,
Well, the numbers
page
that
numbers.
you do is like dates. That's what,
I do.
the numbers you do.
But I'm good at dates.
Good.
Anyways.
Yes, you are.
Let's cut all of
I'm
this.
agreeing. Okay, no, we gotta keep it. Okay, so
Last week of summer.
yeah,
Great summer.
yep,
Good trips.
yeah.
We
We
did
drove
some-
a lot.
We drove a lot. We
We're
did
trying to
some-
avoid the more dangerous kinds of traveling, so we
Yeah.
did a lot of driving.
Yeah, I was gonna say our trips were all pretty we're
COVID
we're pretty
aware.
mindful, yeah, and so it was good, and it's just further proof that if you make smart choices and do things to help yourself, that
You can have fun.
you can. I don't want to say let loose, but you can resume some normal activities within reason.
some normal activities.
Well, I just mean like we went to a concert, but it was outside. You know, like it's just that kind of stuff. So, anyways,
Yep.
how about you?
Oh, I'm gonna miss hanging out in our summer fashion when you're
Yeah,
back in the
I hate
classroom.
that a lot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna miss you.
Okay.
But but I'm good. I mean, I'm gonna
Ditto.
like buckle down and start getting back into the swing of like,
You're gonna work again
very serious
from
work.
your break.
Yeah, my summer break is over too.
Maybe yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
Okay.
making money is important though.
Well,
Things cost money in this country. as
me
it turns
about it.
out.
Well,
Which transitions nicely.
I was gonna say, well done. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm very motivated by this episode because there's Chipotle on the other side,
Yeah, we're going to Chipotle.
and that is a deep love of mine.
Yeah,
And I have a coupon, which I also love. I'm a teacher.
you do. You do love couponing.
I do love coupons.
You love couponing. You love
You
Chipotle.
just stare at me and I'm like, it's fine. This is gonna save us 50 cents.
No,
Great.
I'm glad. I'm
Okay.
glad.
So this week, we chose the topic of clear the list, which is
Yeah.
maybe something you've been seeing on social media. You usually see them start popping up on Facebooks
Yep.
and Instagrams and like
Twitter's and social media in general.
yeah, late July, early August, as teachers are prepping to return to their school year.
Yeah, this is another chapter in the ongoing saga that we have called, hey, maybe we should stop defunding education.
Yeah, we have to make that T-shirt.
We need to put it on a t-shirt.
Okay.
We need stickers. We need t-shirts. So what is Clear the List? Just tell us about what it is
Well,
exactly.
Okay, so clearing the list, what that means when you see it posted places is that a teacher has created a list of things that they would like help in supporting for their classroom. And it's because the amount of money that teachers spend for their classrooms is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so on Amazon and on another website, Donors Choose, and other places too, teachers can create lists of things that would help them, cover the burden of all of these things that the schools can't provide.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes a classroom welcoming and inviting and, a good place to
Right.
be. So these lists basically are just a list on, in most cases, Amazon, like I said, that have a huge list of things that teachers need or want for their classrooms. And then you buy it through, in that case, Amazon, and it gets shipped directly to whatever that address is. And so it's a safe way to support people that you don't know even, because there's no like interactions. You just ship it right to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of convenient and easy.
Yep. So like you're saying, an easy kind of, friction-free way for people to be able to monetarily support teachers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we have ended up in this hole where this thing even has to exist. Because there aren't a lot of jobs where you see people who work at those jobs posting lists of things that they need to have bought for them because, first of all, teacher pay is abysmal, as we have talked about many times on this podcast. And then second of all, on top of that, discretionary funding for school supplies in many districts is basically non-existent. So why do we have this funding situation that prompts public school teachers to go post clear the list type things in the first place? Just a little bit of a brief overview. We've talked about a lot of these kinds of things before. We'll probably keep talking about them because they're relevant and they kind of underpin a lot of what we talk about on this show. But this is a brief overview of how funding for public education works in this country, again, in the United States. So, according to the U.S. Department of Ed, federal contributions to education spending, it's only about 8%, which
That's lower than I thought it was.
it's mind-bogglingly low. 8% of funding comes from the federal government for public schooling. About 47% on average comes from the state, and 45% of it is locally sourced. So like that's like school levies and stuff.
Gotta
like that,
vote
property
yes.
taxes. Yeah, for real. Yeah. So then, like I said, the remainder from that federal 8%, the remainder is mandated to state and local governments to deal with. That usually comes from state revenues from like sales and income taxes for the state part of it. But anyway, for a little bit of context here, just because I have some bones to pick about this, we tend to plan our federal budget according to a sort of might makes right mentality. Perhaps we should revisit this because of so many reasons. But the U.S. spends, for example, 8 times as much of our federal budget on the military as it does on education spending. So I was reading an article. This is 2015 figures, but I'm saying that in 2015, military expenditures accounted for about 54% of our discretionary spending as a country.
Goodness.
That's according to the National Priorities Project. In contrast, education accounted for only 6% of the federal budget. That
Sorry, I'm just going to keep making noises in response because I have no words.
that merits some noise making, I think. I don't think people, I know that people know in this country generally that military spending is huge. It's a huge part of the federal budget. Everyone kind of knows that, but we never sort of talk about it in comparison to these other vital public
Yeah, I was
services.
just going to say I don't have any relationship for it like to other things.
To me, it completely blows my mind that the gap can be that huge because I've said this before, when I don't know, my dad and I like to argue about this kind of stuff in a friendly banter sort of way, but I'm like, maybe we wouldn't have to spend so much money on the military if we spent more money on education. Like maybe this giant DOD budget that we have, other than all the other political reasons you might not want to spend that much on guns and soldiers, like maybe the world would be more peaceful and harmonious if we spent a little more money on education.
Yeah.
Like priorities, man. So anyway, that's obviously, I come at this with my own political flavors and biases, but I just think it's kind of mind-boggling that it's only 6% of the federal budget and that we spend 8 times as much on the military. So anyway, because income and tax revenues vary so widely from state to state, the funding model that we have has led to this huge disparity in the funding that schools in different parts of even a single state receive. So schools in affluent areas receive way more funding as compared to those in low income areas. This is not a surprise if you've been a listener of the pod for a while, but there you have it. Overall, this model presents a huge challenge to schools in low income areas. And a lot of that's because performance measures can be tied to how much money a district has. So we evaluate teachers and administrators and everyone, basically, we evaluate them on something that is wildly beyond their control as it comes down to it.
Unsurprisingly.
So poor school performance in low income areas has a direct causal relationship with the low income and property taxes in those areas. It's this never ending self-destructive Ouroboros of sick.
This cycle is just, it's so frustrating.
It's a self-defeating cycle. So anyway, there's some research here that I found. I was talking about like, okay, well, what if the research suggests that changing school funding models would lead to some pretty interesting changes. So the research, like one of the studies that I was looking at was suggesting that increasing school revenues by just 10% would lead to an average of more years of education completed for students. Future wage earnings would increase by 7.25%. Again, that's for a 10% revenue increase for schools. And 3.67% less future poverty each year. So this would help in so many ways.
All of these things. It's like
for low income students, the impacts would be even greater as the amount of education completed increases almost twice as much, and the future impacts include a 9.5% higher adult wages and 6.8% lower poverty rates. 25% increase in school funding would result in a complete elimination of the achievement gap between low and high income students.
Oh my gosh.
Raising teacher pay not only results in better overall quality and effectiveness of teachers, but also reduces the high school dropout rate. Hey,
really?
Maybe we should stop defunding education.
I'm exhausted just listening to that. Honestly, it's so overwhelmingly obvious to me.
Yeah, when I look at this stuff, I'm just like, okay, obvious. It's obvious that we should do this.
Right. And it's like all of these problems just keep lending to each other.
Right.
Like when you talk about these more affluent areas, right? They have teachers that have, it's so unfair because that's where the money is. So teachers go there, and not like there aren't incredible teachers in lower, like these other poverty area, like stricken areas, but oh my gosh, it's so frustrating.
I mean, I feel like we have talked about this so many times before, but there's so many ways we spend money. We try to throw it at this or that problem. We try to address poverty and, food deserts and social assistance programs, all these kinds of things. We have these political arguments about these programs. And it just, to me, so many of them could be at least in some significant way mitigated by increasing education spending. It's a self-defeating cycle like we just talked about, where if we just put a little bit more hope and funding into our education system, we would not have to have the arguments that we're having about how to spend to fix these problems. So anyway, that's my soapbox. I've been on it. I'm getting off of it.
Yeah. I have a slight bit of hope that this administration, we may see a little bit of a push for that. I'm not confident, but I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess is what I would say, that maybe we'll see a little bit of that help. So.
Yeah.
But I hope that with every administration too. Like this isn't a Joe Biden thing because of Dr. Joe Biden. This is in this case, I guess it is a Dr. Joe Biden thing because I'm hoping, like we've talked about before, it excites me to have a president who knows so closely what teaching is like. Not that there haven't been other teachers near the, whatever. But my point is just that, I mean, she and especially who she has taught, she has a really unique experience. So I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe we'll see in year 2, 3, whatever, some push for that. But
we did see some. So after we're going to do a whole episode on Reagan and education funding. But after that presidency, it was a lot of stagnation in terms of education spending. Early 2000s with No Child Left Behind, there was some influx of cash there. There was some more education spending happening, at least relative to the rest of all the other economic factors. And then again, we saw another uptick in education spending with Obama's Every Student Succeeds Act. So it's not as though we're not trying to apply more,
right?
Especially like per capita funding for education has increased in this country, but we're way lagging behind where we should be.
And part of these problems, and we've talked about Betsy before, but
Bets.
that push, right, for magnet and charter schools and then privatize it, like that hasn't helped this. So we have even an education system as far as like federally, right, like at the national level, who's still recovering from some of that.
Yeah, the research on that is a little bit vague about whether and how charter school funding detracts from public education funding, but I think it is obvious and sort of safe to say that, hey, maybe school choice is a good thing, that's fine, but it's also the case that, especially in terms of federal spending, we do not have the kind of money to support that weird bifurcated system of public school kind of competing with charter schools.
Especially when our public schools are suffering in the way that they are.
Well, it's kind of
in these places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of unfortunate because what this public versus charter school conversation does is pit those two camps, like this pro school choice and anti school choice camps, against one another
because they're competing for the same money.
It makes them competitive rather than, hey, how about we work together
coexist
to push for increased education spending. So it's the unfortunate reality that it's just an unfortunate reality.
It's just a byproduct of this is that it makes us want to fight each other because there's only so many dollars in the pot.
So speaking of that, why don't you tell us a bit about how much you as a teacher on average spends?
Okay, so
something like school supplies.
This comes from the NEA, which we've talked about before too.
Just last week.
Yeah.
The National Education Association, right? Educators Association.
Yeah.
The NEA.
Okay. So the NEA.
NEA.
Did you land that?
No.
Okay, stick it. Okay, so the NEA released in 2019 that in the U.S., teachers spend on average $459 on school supplies each year. The data suggests that the amount greatly increased during COVID. I can't confirm. But that for 2020 and 2021, we'll probably see averages that are much higher than that. And according to the NEA as well, 9 out of 10 teachers will not be reimbursed for their spending. And this isn't professional development that we're talking about. We're talking like the back to school stuff or books or like
supplies.
Yeah, like supplemental stuff that happens. The push during COVID especially was due to the lack of technology, clearly. And so
stuff like ways for students to connect with like online and distributed learning.
Like I know teachers that bought Chromebooks and things like that and let students use them during that time. So we're talking about teachers doing that, but we're also talking about spending that occurs. And in my example, last year when we returned to school, I bought myself an iPad Pro. And I bought it with the intention knowing that I would use it in my classroom. Now, do I just love my iPad Pro? Of course I do. I use it for personal reasons as well. But it was definitely a purchase that I was thinking, okay, well, this will make my classroom easier. You know what I mean? So we also saw an increase in teachers buying personal electronics, things like that maybe aren't technically school supplies, but that was our goal. You know what I mean? So I think when we look back at the data for 2020 and 2021, it's probably going to be a pretty large spike. But also that's like the national average. So I think it was like California, their average is actually like closer like 600 and something, where some more rural, especially the West, it was in like the 300s. So it's dependent on where you are. But on average, U.S. teachers are spending about $459 a year
Jeez.
Yeah. So what kind of inspired us to do this specific episode was a thing, or a movement, I guess we could probably call it, and it's seen on social media as #ClearTheList. And they've created an entire community around this goal. So Clear the List started as a social media movement in 2019 by Courtney Jones. She's a teacher, and so she basically started this Facebook group for educators and for people who wanted to support educators as a way to have a home for these, in that case, Amazon lists or Donors Choose lists.
Yeah, it still
for
exists.
exposure. Mm-hmm. It does, yeah.
And you can
I was a
join
member.
it.
I didn't realize I'd been a member for as long as I had, but I joined it as soon as it started, I guess.
You can join it as a teacher or a donor.
Yeah,
just
anyone
for
can join it.
information.
It's like over 45,000 people. And
It's
that's
a private group though, so it's unlisted. So you kind of have to have somebody invite you. We just kind of learned this in the process of researching the episode that you can't. It's hard to find because it's a private group.
I am in it, so if you know me personally and you want in it, I can shoot you an invite.
Just
But
send us an email, hello@1601.com.
right.
We can invite you to this group if you're a teacher.
But basically, it was created with the intention of offering a pay it forward initiative to raise awareness for the lack of supplies in classrooms. And so this movement created the national community of educators, donors, organizations, and corporations that joined together to help clear the supply lists that don't fall within the school district's budget for all teachers across the country and even teaching abroad. That year, 2019, it was in like late July, early August of 2019. It received hundreds of news outlets covering, like the attention basically was going as far as even the Today Show, NBC News, Good Morning. I mean, all of these people, or all of these rather media stations were covering it. And so there was a big push that year to support these lists. And so due to the success of that movement, the foundation, Clear the List Foundation, was created. And so now they work with partnering with with a bunch of businesses and other groups to try to help support these lists that pop up all over.
What was the example you just said that this foundation they partnered with? Who was it?
I think it was Clorox was one of their big ones last
for, like,
year.
Cleaning supplies and stuff.
So it seems like they've worked with and continue to work with all kinds of different companies, but just as a way to help support and give money. And then the foundation is able to help sort through lists and figure out, the best way to spend it and the biggest impact that it can also create for teachers, which is really exciting. I've given to some Clear the Lists. I haven't actually started one myself. I'm thinking about it though, because I want a bunch of different books for my classroom. So maybe that's the way to do it. But,
yeah.
So if you haven't seen a Clear the List as an Amazon list, you have probably seen a Donors Choose page.
I hadn't heard of this one, so tell me.
So
about
Donors Choose it works a little bit differently. A lot of times Donors Choose are like much larger items. So you'll see like a classroom set of those yoga balls for kids to sit on, or like there are like these. I've seen it. A lot of my special ed teacher friends have used Choose or Donors Choose because they're like these things that you put under their feet. So for students that like need, you know what I mean, like a stimulant or
like
whatever,
sensory
sensory kind of stuff. They can like kick this little thing. It doesn't make any noise, but it lets them bounce and move without causing like, you know what I mean, issues for the classroom, right? But Donors Choose are more strict than a Clear the List on Amazon because Donors Choose partners with specific companies, and I think I'm calling them hoops, and I get why they're doing it, but they're national partners with like Staples,
Hoops
Amazon
to jump
Business.
through, is that what you mean?
Yeah. When you apply to be, or when you start a project on Donors Choose, there's a lot more verification that has to happen. And it's a lot more legwork than just creating an Amazon list. I mean, it's just that
probably
simple.
more like applying for kind of grant funding or something
It
like that.
is a lot more like a grant fund for sure. And that's okay. Like, I mean, a lot of the things that most of the Amazon lists that I see are like books, basic supplies, whereas Donors Choose, you can see them wanting to get one-to-one iPads for a whole classroom.
Yeah.
So that's like where the difference is for
bigger
a lot
ticket
of it.
items.
Yeah.
Got it.
They also allow fundraising for professional development for teachers, which I think is kind of cool. And that's not something that you'll see on an Amazon list.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, again, all of this is so depressing that it has to exist in the first place. But
Yeah.
I think it is, in the meantime, before we get everybody on board with appropriately spending on education, it is good that some of these organizations can step in, and like something like professional development, I think is really cool that you have an opportunity to we've talked about professional development before, but I just think it's very cool that you have this kind of opportunity and that there are organizations out there that are doing this kind of work. So
Yeah. And then a lot of times one of the things that happens on Donors Choose is right now, I was looking on their website today just to see what was going on. There's a Dollar General grant for literacy. So for some of the projects, they qualify for that, which means that Dollar General will meet up to, you know what I mean, X amount of dollars towards this overall goal. And so that's another reason why a lot of teachers choose Donors Choose, is because those happen throughout the year by all different kinds of companies. And so I've had a couple of friends use Donors Choose because there was going to be, they were going to meet like dollar for dollar up to like $500 or something like that. So that cuts down on how much they actually have to, you know what I mean, fulfill. But Donors Choose can, like right now I'm looking on their website. If you go to them, you can search all kinds of subjects. If you want to specifically give to a certain kind of classroom.
If you had an English teacher that really made an impact on your life, you might want to go spend and help support English
Holocaust
teachers.
books you want to send my way. No, and then they also have like, I'm just reading off of their website, but they have like lists that are just for distance learning. More than half of the students are from a low-income household, a rural school, teachers whose birthdays are today. There's age groups you can pick from. And then there's also like requests for specific things. So supplies, books, basics, computers, tablets. You can really start to get in here and see like the kind of things that people are. And it's also cool because you can search by location on Donors Choose. So you can be like, okay, I really want to help, you know, like this area because they were just hit by
area or
well, and I was thinking a lot like maybe a school has been taken out by like a fire, something like that. Like you could,
like a natural disaster or
like
something
you could
like that.
you could go that way. And then you can do it by price too. So like one of the ones I found only needed $6 more to meet their goal.
Oh, that's neat.
Some of these teachers are trying to fundraise for like entire sets of things. You know what I mean? Like this one wants yoga mats and I don't know, 3D printing. Like, I mean, you can literally find teachers doing everything on this website. So it's a little bit different as far as just being clear the list. Because like I said, if you follow that hashtag on social media, it'll normally take you to an Amazon list. And I kind of like the Amazon list ones because you can pick and choose what you send. Like I've done that before and just picked the books that I really liked to make sure they had them in their classrooms. You know what I mean? Whereas Donors Choose, you're giving an amount.
Yeah.
The only other thing about Donors Choose is, okay, so for this teacher that I'm looking at, they are a second grade teacher in DC public schools with literacy. It's a Head Start school, and nearly all students are from a low-income house. And so they're trying to do Apple iPad minis, 5th generation tablets, and they want 3 of them. So Donors Choose, if you scroll down to the bottom of that fundraising opportunity, it'll show you what the materials cost, what the state sales tax was, the third-party processing fee, the fulfillment labor and materials, the total cost, and then the suggested donation to help Donors Choose. And so I know that Donors Choose is a business, right? And that they're just doing good work to help teachers. But if you buy from an Amazon list, you don't have all of that overhead.
Right.
So, like, there are differences. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
you are paying Amazon's overhead.
well,
but...
yes, but it's not, like, a lot of times Donors Choose, the teachers have to actually raise more than the cost, which is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, doing great work. That is not a slap at Donors Choose. Please do not come at me. I'm too young and I don't have no money, so... Anyways, support them. But you know what I mean? Like, it's very different kind of fundraising, basically.
It's more traditional nonprofit model of raising funds. Yep.
So, if you have a list and you're a teacher, if you want some more exposure, you can send it in. I'll make a unique post for you on Instagram and Facebook both. And I'll try to set it during wherever you live, during a good time for you. And that way, we can maybe try to get you some help with our little baby platform. But also, if you're looking to support teachers, you can search, like I said, on Donors Choose by location or by whatever you feel like buying. And on any kind of social media, you can just search the hashtag clear the list, and you can find literally thousands of teachers posting their Amazon list all over the internet trying to get some support. So if you've got a few extra dollars, you want to buy some books, whatever, it's a good way to do it. Also, if you just find stuff in your house that are like old book bags that are still usable and like, you know, journals or whatever, things like that, you can also just call your local schools and see if there are teachers or groups that need them.
Yep.
Because we always, every year at my school, we collect backpacks and things like that to give to kids who can't get them.
Yep.
So there's plenty of places you can give to help.
And again, we are serious about that. If you're a teacher listening and you have one of these lists, go ahead and contact us. It's hello@16to1.com.
Yeah.
Again, just send us. You can reach out to us on all of our social media accounts
social.
too. We'll hear from you. But if you've got a list, send us, your name, the name of your school, where you teach, so we can feature
Anything
you.
you feel comfortable with us sharing.
Yep. And then also maybe include, if you want to, include a photo that we could post along with it.
Yeah.
And just let us know, and we will try to get your list out there as quickly as we can.
And these lists, I mean, they exist all year, and they always get a lot of press at this time of year just because we're going back.
It's a good time for it now.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that if, you think of it later, you still can't support teachers because we're buying stuff all year round.
Yeah.
So
just get in touch with us, and we'll try to get it out there as quickly as we can to make sure that you can get a little boost in your classroom.
Which we all need.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. Are we ready for our fill in the blank?
Yeah.
All right. What was last episode's question?
Last episode's question.
Yeah.
Okay. This
was so
woman,
cool.
we're looking for her name.
Yes.
This woman was appointed U.S. Secretary of Labor and was the first woman to be appointed to the U.S. Cabinet. After teaching science for several years, she moved to New York to study at Columbia, where she earned her master's degree in economics and sociology in 1910. She served as secretary of the New York Consumers League, where she successfully lobbied the state legislature for a bill limiting the work week for women and children to 54 hours. She was also active in the women's suffrage movement. She witnessed 146 workers, most of them young women, die in the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, and she consistently supported the rights of workers to organize unions of their own choosing and to pressure employers through economic action. In one famous incident captured in a widely circulated newspaper photo, she strides towards the U.S. Post Office in Homestead, Pennsylvania, with thousands of steelworkers behind her. After being denied a meeting by the mayor and the steel executives, she found an alternative site where she could inform the workers directly of their collective bargaining rights. Overall, just a boss woman. And that woman was Frances Perkins was her name.
I could not believe. So yeah, we were doing research for our kind of labor organizing information for last episode's stuff, and I cannot believe I'd never heard of this woman before, because she's just all over the place and leading the charge in so many different ways, and very, very cool stuff that she was doing. A really interesting life and a lot going on there. So yep, Frances Perkins was her name.
This
I'm
week,
gonna do some more research about that lady.
Yep. This episode's question.
In January 2007, a lawsuit was filed on behalf of two families against the state of Washington for not meeting its constitutional obligation to amply fund a uniform system of education. By February 2010, King County Superior Court had declared the state out of compliance with Article 9 of the Washington State Constitution. Oral argument for this case was heard in front of the Washington Supreme Court on June 28, 2011. On January 5, 2012, the Washington State Supreme Court agreed with the opinion of the King County Superior Court that the state was not fulfilling its obligation to fully fund education in the state. What was the name of this Washington State Supreme Court case or decision?
I almost just said it because I forgot that this was not the answer yet.
That's this week's question. What was the name of that? Basically, the name of the people bringing the case against the state. All right, on to what we learned. I learned this is something about sort of, my day job is in technology. I learned how to make web applications with this bit of technology. It's called Vue, V-U-E, and that's it's just this progressive JavaScript framework for building user interfaces. So you can kind of use it to sort of enhance your project, or use it as the basis for building your project, but it kind of helps you build single page applications. This is a common way for the way the internet works these days, basically. But it was just kind of so it's kind of in the weeds, but as a web developer, I'm always trying to get my hands around new technologies and learn new stuff. So I'm building a new application. This is kind of related to that starting a business thing I was talking about a while back with the LLC stuff. But yeah, nice. I learned how to use a new bit of technology.
Way to go.
Yeah. How about you? What did you learn?
I just learned this. It's not that exciting, but it's a fun fact. Today, the Las Vegas Raiders became the first NFL team to require all fans attending their home games to be vaccinated.
Oh, hey, feel safe at a football game.
In Las Vegas. I was not expecting the Raiders to be the first ones, but there they are. So
I still forget that they're not in Oakland anymore. Yeah, so that's how far behind the times I am.
Well, it's pretty new still. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that just it popped up, and it seems that we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah, a lot of concert venues, a lot of restaurants when we were in New York requiring proof of vaccination. Yeah, so we're starting to catch on to feeling safe in our
Yeah.
out and about environments.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but it's
We're getting
it's
there.
a good one.
We're getting there. There is hope.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Man.
Final thoughts?
No.
Back to school thoughts?
I'm just like dread now, you know.
Dread.
I like escape it and then I'm like, oh, now I'm back to being sad.
Oh.
But for everyone returning or who has returned, I hope you have a wonderful and safe year.
Yeah. Have
And
a
I
good
hope
school
it goes
year.
really fast, so our summer is here soon.
Summer vacation on my mind.
Okay, and like holiday break. I'm gonna wish for a holiday break very quickly.
Yeah.
It's more.
Get us to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's one of my. Yeah. So
We hope you're
anyways,
safe. We hope
take care
you
of
have
yourselves. Get a lot of sleep.
fun.
And
Yeah.
remind yourself that you don't get paid for your overtime, and you don't get to keep your sick. Like, take care of yourselves. You know?
Take care of yourself.
That's more important, and you're gonna do and be worth a lot more if you're taken care of. So
Yep. Take care of yourself.
I'll see you in 2 weeks when I'm crying. Great,
Oh.
because I'm back at school and I'm tired all the time.
Oh.
And I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm
Yeah,
just
that's an
not.
early morning.
That's the worst part.
That's an early morning, but we
could
hope
we could just move the school day a little bit later.
just
and
hang
find
out with
somewhere.
us on 16 to 1 on your commute. There you go.
There we go. We'll see you
Perfect
guys
fun.
soon.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye. Hey listeners, thanks for supporting 16 to 1.
We're trying to grow our audience, so please check us out at 16to1.com, all spelled out, and tell your friends about the show.
On our website, you can find links to follow us on social media, an archive of all our old episodes, and a contact form where you can get in touch.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next show.
Let's go get Chipotle. Ready?
And of course, like, if only someone would sponsor us.